My name's John Guy, and I was a student here many, many years ago. In fact, we had our 50th anniversary of our graduation last year. Yeah. So that's 51 years now. Most of us have survived, but things have changed a lot since my day. So how are you finding the course? You're now in second year, is that right?
Yeah, I'm in my second year at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it.
You are?
Yeah, it's varied, which is really nice, and got a good amount of people in my year.
Good. How many students are there in the year now?
There's about 200 of us.
Ooh, we were 120, and there were only about 25 girls. So how many are there in your year?
So it's about 60% female now.
60% female?
So, yeah, big difference.
Ooh,
I think.
We better watch out, hadn't we?
Yeah, definitely. You did dissection as well, didn't you?
Oh goodness, yes. We were in the dissecting room 2 or 3 times a week, yeah. And the smell of the formaldehyde was just horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to know your friends that way. There were usually 6 of us round the body, chatting away, wasting time,
yeah. Getting
sore backs, leaning over the cadaver. But those of us who went on to do surgery, you had to know your anatomy pretty well. Yeah. And we had to do it all over again when we did our primary fellowship exams.
Well, at the moment what we do, we have anatomy about once a fortnight, and we do a thing called prosection. So the sort of professors will dissect the body for you, and then you can go and look at the relevant parts yourself.
Indeed.
And they quite like this method, I think, because for us, you get to see everything you're meant to see, and it doesn't, you know, especially when you're a first year and don't know what you're doing, you're not going to muck up something that you're meant to be looking at.
I understand you did a bit of rowing.
I did, yes.
Well, so did I.
Yeah.
And the reason I took it up was I needed something physical. And because I'm rather tall with long legs, I was no good at running, I was no good at rugby, but I thought I'd love to exercise sitting down, and rowing was the answer there.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I did it from, I think, second year to 4th year, and I didn't step backwards quickly enough, so I had to become secretary of the club for a while, and it was my job to order the pewter pots for the regattas.
Yeah.
Our regattas were always very popular,
yeah.
But you go to Inverclyde now, don't you?
Yeah, so
Strathclyde, sorry.
Strathclyde Park,
yes.
Near Glasgow. So I was a novice for last year when I did my most intense training, and so in the mornings you're at the canal in Edinburgh, which I think you rose at, and then on Wednesday afternoons and the weekends you go over to Strathclyde,
Right.
which is really great because it's like a proper water sports centre, really high class facilities. I mean, I saw a photo of you loading the boats up onto some amazing buses.
Well, we had to do that. We didn't have trailers in those days.
Yeah.
And we weren't a big club. I don't know how many members you have now, but 3 boats was as many as we could get on top of the coach, and we used to go off on trips, Whitsuntide and other times, down to Worcester and Hereford. And on one occasion, coming back from there, the gearbox on the bus was giving trouble. It kept coming out of top gear, and I was sitting in the front row, and I had the job of using a gym shoe hooked onto the knob of the gear stick to hold it in gear for about 50 miles. It was quite exhausting, I can tell you.
And did you do much training at the gym here?
Well, surprisingly, we did have circuit training here. I didn't come very often, but because it was hard work. I did try to take it seriously. This was usually in the spring term before the regatta season. We'd try and get ourselves really fit.
Yeah.
And during the Easter holidays, we used to have camps and row up the Union Canal, about 20 miles or so.
I think it's a lot more gym-based training now, because I think we had about 4 or 5 gym sessions a week last year up in the Catherine Granger gym here, which is all very new and nice, and it's also quite nice to be surrounded by, because I mean obviously Catherine Granger was a rower here and she started as a novice. It was quite nice for all of us last year as newbies to be like, oh, one day that could be us in the Olympics.
When you came up to the university first, what kind of accommodation did you have?
Well, it's really great because the university here guarantees everyone in their first year accommodation. I was in a place called Fraser Court, and I think all my best memories from my first year are to do with accommodation life. Where did you stay?
I was lucky. I had contacts with one of the halls of residence in George Square, and that was called Cowan House. It's now where the library is.
Oh, wow.
They've demolished it. There were 2 halls of residence there. Masson Hall was the girls' hall of residence, and Cowan House was next door. And it had been funded by Dr. Cowan, who was a shipping magnate down in Leith. And during the general strike of 1926, he was losing money because all his workers had gone, but the students helped out. In fact, my father was a student then, and he used to drive the trams.
Oh, wow.
And Dr. Cowan was so impressed with the help that he got from students during that period that he endowed Cowan House. And I spent 3 years there and made many friends from many different departments. It really was wonderful. Funnily enough, Cowan House isn't very far from the old quad. And a lot of the students in Cowan House used to have to walk a couple of blocks to the old quad. And the principal there used to get fed up with the Cowan House boys because they were always late. And he instituted the principal's race. And this was held once a year, where you dressed up in fancy dress, and you actually just trotted. It wasn't serious, but you paraded to the old quad, and I think the person with the best fancy dress got a prize.
Oh, wow.
Medical students have been accused of being somewhat extrovert and unruly. Why do you think that is?
Medicine, I think, is pretty amazing in that it as a course puts on so many extra events. We have this event goes on every year which is called the Medics Reveal, which is quite a lot of fun. So basically students audition dance auditions, and it's eventually it's a big medic strip show for charity.
This sounds very Exeter.
Yeah, so it's quite out there, but they raise an incredible amount of money, and it's a big event in the calendar.
Oh, right, this is new.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty fun. Well, I was looking through your photographs earlier that you'd taken when you were a student here, and it was amazing seeing some of the anatomy teaching lab that is all the same building, and we get taught in the same room. It was great seeing you all sitting there in the same seats, really.
It has changed very slightly for the better, because when I was there as a student, the actual bench was made of cast iron, and it was about 8 inches wide with a sharp edge, so you never slept. But now they're tip-up padded seats, aren't they?
Yeah, you definitely sleep in that next theatre now.
You say you're enjoying your medical course.
Yeah.
Have you formed any ideas about what you'd like to do eventually once you qualify?
Well, it's quite hard at the moment because I suppose a lot of our course has been theory-based so far.
Let me give you some advice. Don't make up your mind yet.
Okay.
Keep your mind open for as long as possible, because you don't know what's ahead of you yet. And you may find, if you choose to go in one direction, that there's something that you actually prefer.
Yeah.
So keep an open mind. I like using my hands, so I ended up in orthopedics, bones and joints, saws and drills and screwdrivers, and lots of hip replacements. And I've enjoyed my medical career very much indeed, and I hope you will as well.
Yeah, definitely, hopefully.